Another week has passed, and as always, there are stories of human depravity filling up the news cycles. This isn't new. It is troubling, heartbreaking, maddening, and more, but it isn't new. In a world where we continue to do life without God's input or help, this is what we end up with: chaos. In John 8:32, Jesus said these powerful words, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." The "you" in John 8:32 are those who are his true disciples, and Jesus was speaking of himself as the truth. John 14:6 is where Jesus called himself just that. Jesus answered, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." If we know Jesus as the truth, we will be set free to live in the freedom that Christ died for us to live. However, the world, being the system opposed to God and his truth, offers a different way. It sounds more like this: live your own truth, do your own thing, answer to no one if you want to truly be free. However, what the world offers as freedom is just a veiled, albeit enticing, invitation to spiritual imprisonment. In our human attempts to be liberated and experience freedom on our own terms, we end up with the exact opposite: bondage and captivity. This is the oldest bait and switch in the universe. It's called deception. Deception does its deadliest work when we allow our own selfish desires to be satiated by our own enlightened choices. Then, as a result, in our attempts to express our own individual freedoms, we end up forging new chains to bind us. There's a word I just used a few times that could give us a clue to the problem, and it's the word own. When it comes to our lives, we own nothing good apart from God. That is the truth. 1 Corinthians 6:20 says you are not your own because you are bought with a price. 1 Peter 2:9 says you are God's possession. You belong to God, so live a life that glorifies him. It is a bit ironic that what the world calls freedom, to be and do whatever you want to be and do, is actually enslavement, whereas being a slave or a servant to righteousness, as the Apostle Paul describes the Christian life in Romans, is actually true freedom. Just know this: there will be people who claim to know and love Jesus who will fail, fall, and even abuse their position of power. But also remember this: our inability to adhere to the truth does not make it any less true. As a matter of fact, it makes us realize how powerless we are to live a life of purity and true freedom apart from Christ. When I consider how many prominent Christians we hear about living double lives, I'm reminded of a passage of Scripture in 1 Peter 2:16. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. I want to encourage you to live in the freedom of Christ today, which means believing and knowing and trusting that Jesus is the truth. According to the book of Romans, knowing the truth will set you free. Free from sin, free from condemnation, and free from death. And that is true freedom.